5 most air-polluted cities in America. Experts suggest that in the 1960s, LA's ozone pollution was even worse than in present-day Beijing. So how bad is LA's pollution now, and how does it compare to other cities worldwide? Well, the World Health Organization and the American Lung Association both measure air pollution primarily by how many fumes and particles exist in the air that we breathe. The fumes come from sources like power plants or car exhaust and are referred to as ozone or smog. Particles, on the other hand, are solid and most evident in dust and smoke. Our body is equipped to expel larger particles by coughing or sneezing, but anything less than 2.5 microns in diameter can get stuck in the lungs and enter the bloodstream. This can trigger lung cancer, heart disease, and strokes. One researcher has compared living in a polluted city like Beijing to smoking 1.5 cigarettes every hour.
As a child, my family used to go all kinds of different places on vacations, family vacations. We just loved it. We would go camping in Yosemite. We'd go to Arizona to the Grand Canyon. And I remember being in the local mountains where the air was nice and fresh and you could smell the pine trees and it was great. And then we would start heading down the mountain. And you would go around this one corner where all of a sudden you could see the LA basin. And I remember just feeling like my heart was about to just drop because you couldn't see the bottom of the valley. All you saw was smog. And it looked like this, just a cloud of just, bleh, it was gross. And I remember thinking, we have to go down the mountain and go back to that. And I was like, I wanted to stay up here in the mountains where it's nice and clean. I didn't want to have to go back down there. I don't really remember anybody talking about what to do about the smog back then. It almost was an accepted part of life for a while. It just felt like, well, it's just smog, it's just LA. LA is a smoggy place. You didn't question it because you didn't know that there was anything better. Going to elementary school was kind of a nightmare because this was back in the 1970s. And we would have these smog alerts. On smog alert days, I felt like my lungs were burning. It was hard to breathe, and it just felt like a chemical burning. So by the time I graduated high school in 1981, it was a lot better. And it was starting to feel more hopeful that the smog alerts are going to be a thing of the past pretty soon. You could tell things were getting better because you could start to see the visible part of the smog was going away. Then, I don't know what happened. It just seems like the progress we had made stopped for a while. And people were all focused on, well, you can see the mountains now. But now that the visible part was better, it was hard to convince people that the invisible part, which is the dangerous part, was still there. A lot of people don't know, when they think of California, they don't think of an oil state. When you think of an oil state, you think of Alaska or Texas. But California was actually one of the biggest producers of oil, and still is. This map shows you where all the oil wells are in California, oil and gas wells. And if you take a look at this map, people don't realize how extensive it is. And the fact that many of them are in major metropolitan areas. People don't know that they're living right on top of oil fields. Now the visible part of the smog is starting to come back. And that really has me concerned. Because it's like, where is this smog coming from? I thought we had taken care of this. Something has happened where we're going backwards. So what happened? We have the worst air quality in the country. And so something is obviously not working. And we need to move forward and we need to fix this.
We're marking it in ways we never imagined because of this global pandemic that we're all living with right now. Satellite images show a dramatic decline in greenhouse gas emissions thanks to the drop-off in human activity. We're also seeing wild animals roam in very unexpected places. Take a look at that. Perhaps the most obvious environmental change is much cleaner air, and that's a good thing. As Jamie Yuccas shows us, the big question now for climatologists is, what happens next?
This is the new normal for runners in the time of coronavirus. What isn't normal, especially here in Los Angeles, is this, blue skies and clean air.
Once the shelter in place went in California, what did you see?
We saw that LA had some of the cleanest air quality in the world.
Have you ever seen it this clear up here before?
No.
Glory Dolphin-Hammis is CEO of IQ Air, a tech company that tracks global air quality. 2 weeks ago, her sensors showed something almost unimaginable. LA had the cleanest air of any major city on Earth.
About a year ago, Los Angeles was ranked the worst air quality in the entire country. And now we're seeing some of the best air quality, not just in the country, but in the world.
Wide open.
By some estimates, the pandemic lockdown has taken about 80% of passenger cars off local roads. IQ Air's data shows a resulting 31% reduction in air pollution compared to the same time frame last year.